Okay, image number 8. So the problem is that these are not just armies fighting. These are people. These are societies that are sacrificing an entire generation of young men to die for the terms of peace treaties and for power politics. This really is a 19th century war fought in the 20th century. The 19th century ideals of nationalism and God blessing your nation and ruling through your king are all being called up. F. Scott Fitzgerald has a great quote in Tender is the Night that I'm going to read, and I think it'll explain why I've chosen to make this fractured cross. Remember, as I said like earlier, the priests and the religious leaders of the day authorized and promoted young men to go and kill people of different countries because they had this misunderstanding of the gospel that it was intertwined with nationalism, and it meant that people saw their religious duty before the war as to serve their nation, and all of that really goes out the window as soon as they get in the trenches. And many of the soldiers will write about how they are so disillusioned with their faith because their faith leaders were some of the ones who indoctrinated them to go and to consent to killing by category. And so, anyways, F. Scott Fitzgerald has this quote about how you can't see this war again because there isn't the sort of cultural soup undergirding all of it. You had to breed a generation that would be able to fight like this. There's a different mentality in 19th century people marching into a 20th century war. Their reasons for going to war are so much different, and their culture is so much different, into the point of like what would work on them in marketing, it just wouldn't have the same effect just a few decades later. So this is F. Scott Fitzgerald in Tender is the Night. This is a fictional character, but he's putting words into the mouth of someone who's been there. So he says this character is giving a tour of what remains of one of these battlefields, and these battlefields become hellscapes very quickly, and they take decades to clean up. They're still cleaning them up in France. This character is giving a tour to some of his friends of the disgusting nature of these battlefields. So they're walking around, and he says this Western Front business couldn't be done again, not for a long time. The young men think they could do it, but they couldn't. They could fight the First Marne again, but not this. This took religion, and years of plenty, and tremendous sureties, and the exact relation that existed between the classes. The Russians and Italians weren't any good on this front. You had to have a whole-souled sentimental equipment going back further than you could remember. You had to remember Christmas, and postcards of the Crown Prince and his fiancée, and little cafes in Valence, and beer gardens in Unter den Linden, and weddings at the Marie, and going to the Derby, and your grandfather's whiskers.